Lost my mind, now I'm feeling so fine, cause I finally realized I don't need you. I'm feeling sublime, and you're watching me shine, and you realize it's time I don't need you. Now
Hey, this is Brooke,
Hey, this is Imani.
and welcome to another episode of Resources in the Valley.
Where you get your tools to make the most out of every day.
How's it going, Imani? How did your week start? How's it going?
The week's been really good. I've been more busy than I can really explain, but it's been good. Lots of family time. Especially, I love the fall's number of holidays and just time for hours and hours of basking in family time. So that's probably my favorite thing about the season. I don't like the cold, but I'll take everyone being stuck in the house and they can't leave if they wanted to. So I'll take that any day. What about you? How was your week?
It was good. Very busy. My weeks have just been very busy. Like the more that I'm trying to organize them and be conscious of the things that I'm doing and, be conscious of making progress. They've just been busier and busier. But very good, productive. Our last episode was purpose driven, in which we had Young, Rich, and Rooted. We had Betty, Coach B from Young, Rich, and Rooted, and her daughter Jordyn from Born Rich TV, interviewing on the podcast and discussing purpose driven. Our call to action last week was, how are you going to make sure that your goods and services connect to your purpose? Did you think about this last week, Imani?
I did. I think that I'm constantly thinking about purpose. I think I just overdo it. They call it analysis paralysis. Um, so that's something I've been working through with our podcast at this point. Just making sure that wanting to do something valuable doesn't become such a lofty goal that you never reach it because nothing ever seems good enough, nothing ever seems valuable enough, or that sort of thing. So that's kind of where I am, more so at the beginning stages of reevaluating what my purpose is now with what I'm most interested in now. What about you, Brooke? How'd it go with taking inventory of that?
Well, the reason why the episode was named Purpose Driven is because I actually read a book almost 10 years ago at this point, by Teresa Hairston. And the name of the book is Purpose Driven. When I read that book, I actually took about a year and a half, 2 years to read through that book. I started actually revamping my company. I used to have a cleaning service. I don't have that anymore. I used to do some other services, and I don't have those anymore. Through that book, I discovered that my purpose is helping people. That's where I feel satisfied at. So what I started to do then is I started to make all of my companies circle around that purpose or help somebody somehow. So then that way it helps me feel accomplished at the end of the day. It helps me feel successful at the end of the day. And I just feel good about myself. Like, it's not about necessarily getting money or, being paid or things like that. Like, yeah, we all want to be paid. We all want to get the check at the end of the day. But sometimes we need a little bit more, a little bit something more to keep us going. Well, this week we're going to continue the purpose conversation. And this week our episode topic is purpose. And we're going to continue the conversation that we started last week with Coach B and Jordyn. And this week we're going to dive into purpose We're going to discuss the purpose of your business. We're going to dig a little bit more in our call to action from last week, connecting your business with your goods and services, connecting your purpose with your goods and services of your business. And can you do that if you don't know your purpose? If you don't know your purpose, how could you do that? How could you be successful in that? So, Imani, I'll start off by asking you, what makes you feel satisfied every day?
Yes. One of the things I've been thinking about in implementing our call to action is like, what's the first thing I do in the morning and the last thing I do at night? What are the things that kind of stay in my mind? I'm continually mulling over them. And I think the thing that matters most to me is just feeling like I've helped someone, as you said, but also I really like showing up as my best self. So I'll review conversations to see, did I handle that the right way? Is there an action step I need to take tomorrow where I need to apologize because maybe I was too human in that moment and that sort of thing. So I think it's becoming a thing where I like to move and operate and interact with people at a level of excellence, but I also like to help other people see that in themselves, where they feel like, oh, I totally blew this interview, or I totally blew this exchange I had with someone, or this business I was trying to create, and I try to help people pull. There's little bits of excellence sprinkled in our humanness that you can find if you look hard enough. So, yeah, I'm obsessed with it for myself, obsessed with it for other people, but I feel most satisfied when I corrected an error of my ways, because I make a lot of errors in life. So, what about you? What makes you feel satisfied every day?
Well, the thing that makes me feel satisfied is honestly knowing that I helped somebody. Knowing that I helped somebody, knowing that I guided them a little bit, along their way, pushed them further down their path, um, encouraged them, uplifted them, motivated them, got them to do something, got them to make an action towards their goal, or an action towards something that they wanted to do, or an action towards whatever it is that they have in mind or that they're working on. As I said, I went through this a long time ago, so I know that that's what makes me tick, is knowing that what I did, even if it is for money or whatever, actually helped somebody. So that's where I feel good at.
Absolutely. So our next question is, how have we incorporated it into work? Have we incorporated what makes us feel most satisfied into our work? And we talk about this pretty often. For me, I feel as though I did incorporate things that I liked into my work and into the businesses and books that I created. But I feel that when you know what your purpose is, we have a duty to our purpose to dive in and research it. A lot of the things that we've talked about in previous episodes about just how to nurture that beginning seed, the beginning idea. And I think that for me, incorporating it looks like going back to the foundation, like we talked about in previous episodes, and really working on the legwork. These days, everybody's passionate about everything, and they have 3 top ways to make $1 million by Friday, and everybody's just on 10, with the passion. But I think when something really is your purpose, that means it's not for just fourth quarter. It's not something you want to do for the next year. It's something you want to do for the rest of your life, and that requires a different type of work and a different type of consistency, along with a lot of other things that you just need to secure longevity with that thing that's your purpose, so that it doesn't become like a one-hit wonder where it's like, oh, remember that event you had a long time ago? Remember that great business success you had a long time ago? So that's how I want to incorporate the things I'm most satisfied in, is just doing that legwork to really become more of an expert in my field and in what I want to do and how to do it, so that I can secure that longevity that I'm really looking for. What about you, Brooke? How have you incorporated helping others into your businesses?
Well, as we know, I am an accountant, and that's my base business. And what I started doing years ago is actually providing financial education with my services. So some people want to hear it, some people don't. But what I do is I'm very particular, and I'm very specific about not only providing a service and helping someone out with a problem that they might have, but showing them the why, showing them how to avoid it in the future, giving them an explanation so that way they can understand why things are this way and why does accounting work in this specific way. That's with accounting. With the kids' rideshare company, I help parents. I help parents get their kids around. For my drivers, I help them get jobs part-time that works around their schedules. For my blog, I try to encourage people through difficult times by being transparent about some of the things that I've gone through, and resources in the Valley, the podcast, last but definitely not least. I'm here to encourage you. I want people to be able to get something. So when I do get good feedback about, people wanting to hear, or, oh, I have to re-listen to that episode because it gave us such gems, that makes me feel good. So, those are the things that make me feel good. I have a checklist. I have thousands of checklists that I go through every day just to make sure that my tasks are done. But the task of improving somebody's either quality of life or teaching someone something about education is really what makes me tick, makes me go, satisfies me. So, a Resources in the Valley episode would not be a Resources in the Valley episode without Phenomenal Woman of the Week. Our
Phenomenal Woman of the Week is Jordyn. Yeah, y'all probably remember her from our episode with Young, Rich, and Rooted.
Yes. We honored Betty last week, and we could not do another Purpose episode without honoring Jordyn. Jordyn is amazing. Her mom is amazing, and she's amazing too. But I just wanted to shine a little bit of light on Jordyn and the things that she has in place, and some of the things that she sells on her website and things like that. So Jordyn is the CEO of Born Rich TV, which is under Young Rich Rooted, her mother's parent company, and her company is Born Rich TV, or Born Rich. And she has merchandise. Some of her merchandise is Business Besties or Little Body Big Vision. I love that. She has money sheets. The money sheets are free. They are for children. They're Born Rich Savings Chart and Rich Responsibility Chore Chart. Great things for your children. Great things to get your kids, saving and focused on saving. And then she also has 2 books. She has My Beating Business Planner and Jordyn Discovers She Is Good Enough. I really enjoyed this book, Jordyn Discover She Is Good Enough. It's about confidence and, recognizing your power, learning who you are, and things of that nature. Um, so often we are timid about doing things or starting things, and then after we start or we do, we learn that we are good enough. So if you need a book for your children, check that out for them. If your children want to start a business, that Beating Business Planner might be able to assist them with that. Check out their merch, check out their money sheets. Um, Young, Rich, and Rooted and Born Rich are definitely one of the companies that we support and that we love, and we love what they're doing. Do you want to add anything, Imani?
Absolutely. As I mentioned in last podcast, we all remember being a preteen and a teenager. It's just so hard to hear your own voice and come up with your own narrative in this big crazy world full of people handing you pre-made narratives of who you should be and what quantifies as good enough. And um, I just love that she's so young and, like the brand says, little body, big vision. I mean, the girl's got products on products on products. So I just really love that for her to see that continued growth. I look forward to that. And I also think that it's really wonderful for any children that want to maybe get better at making up your bed or just doing little things around the house. As kids, we never want our parents to say, keep making your bed, make your bed. We're like, why do you keep saying it? So I think this is a great way for you to develop what our parents and family hope we will develop, which is that inner motivation to say, I need to get this done. And who knows, by filling out those charts, you might get a treat at the end. You might get to stay up late. Don't tell them I told you that. But you never know what the reward will be. And as parents, we know that the reward for us is seeing, okay, this is someone who's ready to become a mature adult over time. I can trust them to go to college and be okay. I can trust them to, go wherever in life and be responsible. So I think it's so exciting on both ends there.
Yes, it really, really is. Jordyn, we are super proud of you. We thank you for all that you've done, all that you continue to do, and all that you do in the future. And we wish you much success. And if you all are looking for Jordyn's products, visit youngrichrooted.com/bornrich. And to continue our conversation about purpose, we want to talk about the effects. So how do you deal with it? What is your purpose, number one? And then how does it help you in life and business? So we're going to curve a little bit more into life, because keeping a positive attitude is very important, just every day. I believe I've used this analogy before. If you stub your toe and you say, oh, dag on it, it's going to be a terrible day. 9 times out of 10, it's a terrible day after that. A domino effect occurs. Everything starts to go bad, because in your mind, you already declared that it's going to be a bad day. So one of the things in recognizing your purpose and honoring your purpose in everything that you do is to avoid those days, is to avoid the negativity, is to pull out of that, is to keep your mind in a positive regimen, and to keep your mind moving forward in life, and progressive and positive and optimistic. When you start down that negative role or negative road, it just grows. It's like snowballs, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time it started with stubbing your toe in the morning, ends with something huge by the end of the day. And a lot of times, a lot of it is like unnecessary. A lot of it could have been avoided. A lot of it might have not happened if you didn't already say in your mind that all this bad stuff is going to happen. What do you think, Imani?
Absolutely. I love what I read in, I believe it was She's Still There by Crystal Evans Hurst. I love her just definition of purpose. She talks about how you feel as though it's one word or one phrase or something that you're supposed to just receive this divine vision about, and then you just walk in that path, and it's really great, and because you're aligned with your purpose, life is just a straight shot from there. And she said that constantly she would go toward what she believed her purpose was, and then start to feel that maybe she's now off track. Am I off track because I'm a mom? Am I off track because I have a new job? Am I off track because this takes more hours than I thought it would? Am I off track because now I'm sick? And she was constantly just feeling off track, which I'm sure many people can relate. But I love the analogy she used where she says, what if we think of purpose as breadcrumbs, where it's not necessarily the destination that's super important, or even the journey that you have to nitpick and make it perfect and so on and so forth. But what if we think of it as breadcrumbs? So you take a step forward, and then you take another step forward. And let's say on my next step I happen to be sick. I'm taking a 6th step forward. Let's say on my next step I happen to be a parent. I'm taking another step forward as a parent. And you just kind of go with the flow. You go along with all the things that real life is just going to happen, and you can't stop it, as we mentioned before. But each breadcrumb is leading you to a deeper level of purpose, to maybe purpose that means something more to you, or purpose that is revealed to you in a different way. Helping people when you're rich is a lot different than helping people after you lost a lot of money. You're still helping people either way, but when you've lost a lot of money, now you're helping from a place of sacrifice. So that's a different meaning and just a different facet of the same purpose and the same behavior. So that is something I've really loved and holding on tightly to. And I think it helps not only to tell you what to say yes to, what paths to take, what opportunities will align with who you are and what your values are. It also helps you to know what to say no to. I've heard people say, if an acting gig coincides with my son's soccer game, I'm not going. I'm not going to be there. So I think just knowing what your purpose is and knowing what your values are, it also just serves as a filter for everything around you, where it's like, is this going to collide with something that I value more? And if that's the case, do I need to start this venture right now, or do I need to take that next step now? Can it wait until after the holiday season because I want to spend time with my family? So these are just some of the decisions that you end up having to make in real life, but your purpose can help you vet them as they come. What's your take, Brooke?
I definitely agree. One of my favorite mottos is everything in moderation. So even though my purpose is helping, my children are still my priority. So sometimes, let's say I might be helping somebody, or it might have took me 10 minutes to help somebody, and I was able to get that little oomph. But it might be time for me to help my son with schoolwork. Or it might be time for me to help one of my other children with my oldest son with his college stuff, or looking for scholarships, or whatever, or learning how to drive. I'm teaching both of my older children how to drive right now. So my purpose, might look like, okay, today I might not have 20 or 30 minutes or hours to do something for somebody I don't know, because I'm doing something for my children. And I like what Imani said is it looks different sometimes. So even though you have purpose, you still do have priority. And as I said before, every single solitary thing in moderation. We're not to abuse anything. That's what it says in the Bible. Nothing is to be abused. Nothing. So when you find that you're doing too much of anything in excess, you want to start to question yourself why. Why is it that I need to feel this pleasure of this nature because, all the time. I don't need that all the time. We're supposed to be disciplined. We're supposed to be able to spread out. We're supposed to be able to take, even emotion or even emotional gratification in doses, not in, grandiose doses where we're sulking in, in emotional, greatness or whatever. Yes, like I said in the last podcast, you get a compliment, somebody compliments you on something. Don't shrink yourself. Accept that compliment. Recognize that you are that compliment. Recognize that you deserve that compliment. Recognize that you are who you are and that you've worked hard to become who you are. However, moderation. We're not to abuse anything. We're not to be addicted to anything. So when you spread out and you do small doses of things or breadcrumbs, as Imani said, then we can say, ooh, I've got my little pump for the day. Let's go on to what's next. And one of the other things that I like to use purpose for is because Betty mentioned it last week. When you work for yourself, you don't do everything that you want to do all the time. Like, everything is not all that I want to do. It's not spreadsheets. I don't want to sit on spreadsheets all day, or I don't want to create social media posts. That's one thing that I don't like to do, but I do that all the time. I have to create social media posts and things like that. So, like, the things that I'm doing for my business, like, not all of those moving pieces are going to be fulfilling to my purpose. But the thing that is fulfilling to my purpose is supposed to help you move along. And that is what I use my purpose for, is to help me move along, is to drive me a little bit further, drive me a little bit harder, and just get that almost like re-energize yourself. Do you want to add anything before we end, Imani?
No, I think you definitely covered it, and I love that you mentioned too, moving in purpose is really glamorized these days, but it looks like apologizing that something was broken that you shipped. It looks like, just reevaluating what's important. It looks like sometimes letting people go who are on your team, or hiring constantly to, it just looks like something different, sometimes every day. So I think that's also important to have that perspective of, you could love something so much, but it doesn't mean the grunt work doesn't have to be done until you're at the point, prayerfully we all get there, where you can outsource every single thing that you don't like to do and just bask in your wonderfulness all day long. But until then, it's time to hustle. So love that. So we're going to be ending today with our call to action.
And our call to action is, we want you to think about, once again, what is your purpose? What is your purpose? Like, really meditate on that. I meditate in the morning, I meditate at night. So if I was meditating on this, I would be asking myself, what's my purpose? What makes me feel good? I might even take inventory. I might even write down what makes me feel good on a daily basis, and how can I incorporate this into my life or my business to help me move forward. One thing I will say from experience is, working in my purpose makes me work harder. And businesses are glamorized these days. You know, everybody wants to be home, everybody wants to be on the beach working. And that's great. That's great. It's not fully realistic. It is. It's possible, but it's not fully. It takes a while to get there. So I want you to think about your purpose and what you enjoy the most about what you do. Even if it's working for somebody else, what do you enjoy the most about what you do? And how can you incorporate that into your daily life to push you a little further, push you a little harder, go a little harder? Do you want to add anything else, Imani?
I love that. I think that sums it up perfectly. It's really important to just reflect, and I call it recalibrating yourself. So I love it, and I can't wait to hear your guys' feedback online as you tune in. See, what is your purpose? What might you have neglected, or what have you been enjoying? What were you put on this earth to do? And with that, we're wishing all of you beautiful angels a blessed and productive week.
And remember, you all will get through this valley too. Thank you for joining us for
God got me, plant his seeds, let me breathe, cause I need him. Stay faithful, not hateful, I'm playful, cause he got me. He called me his angel, I'm flying to heaven. Just know that he sent me from heaven to flex you.